Hi, my name is Emma Burrows, and today we're going to talk about the background history on ferrets and how to care for one as a pet. Ferrets date all the way back to 4 BC during Caesar Augustus' time, where he used them as pets and he also used them for rodent control. Before we get into the background history on ferrets, let's talk about the ferret facts that one must know. Ferrets are known to be a domesticated breed of the European polecat, and they come from 5 different types of creatures. They are family to the weasel, the mink, the otter, the badger, and the skunk. On average, a ferret's lifespan is 6 to 8 years old, but sometimes they can live to be 11 to 12 years old. Females are called Jills and males are called Hobbs, and on average they do sleep about 18 hours a day and are normally active around dusk and dawn. This changes, however, when you decide to own one as a pet. They will then adapt to your time schedule. Ferrets have scent glands that are normally removed before being purchased as a pet, and they used as protection when out in the wild. If ferrets are not neutered when bought as pets, then it can cause a female ferret to die from a disease known as aplastic anemia, which is a disease that will cause a female's ferret insides to bleed out if she's not being used for breeding purposes. If a male is not neutered, then he will become very hostile and agitated with other ferrets and also the human owner. Now that we know a little bit of a background history on ferrets, let's talk about the different purposes that ferrets were used in history. Ferrets have been used for hunting rabbits, where they would go down into a rabbit hole, chase a rabbit out, so a hunter could then catch his kill. They were also used for rodent control in the same way. For a very short period of time, ferrets were used for fur production, which no longer happens in the U.S., but could still be happening in some other countries. Ferrets are also been used for as transporters, in which they would have a harness on the ferret, and then there would be wires tied to the harness so the ferret could run through a pipe to the other end and feed the wires all the way through. There's also an old English pub sport in which ferrets was used, known as ferret legging. The sport no longer happens, but what they would do is they would put a ferret in each leg of a man's trousers and tie off the bottom and the top of the trousers and see how long the man could withstand the 2 ferrets in his pants biting and clawing on his legs. The longest that anyone has ever survived that has been 5 minutes. They was also used for biomedical research in purposes in which drugs were tested on ferrets for human uses. And then lastly, they are used as companion animals more than anything else in today's world. Now that we know what ferrets were used for, the purposes, and a background history, let's talk about how you would have to take care of one and the different responsibilities of one if you decided to add a ferret to your family. Good diet is key for any animal and is really key in a ferret diet. Ferrets are carnivores, and so they need a high protein diet and meat. It is best to feed them a high quality food instead of a cheap food because they have such small stomachs and intestines. They will typically use the bathroom every 3 hours, so a high quality food will be better for a ferret's stomach to break down and adequate timing for them to be able to use the restroom. The daily and routine responsibilities of having a ferret is they will need fresh water and food each and every day, and they will also need a clean cage every day. If the cage is not clean, then it can cause a musky odor to fill up in a room where the cage is located. Ferrets require a lot of attention from veterinarians for physicals and shots. Ferrets do need shots about every 3 months, and they do need physicals every 6 months, because if a ferret is not well taken care of, then it can develop some diseases that can be costly if they're not getting a regular checkup. Ferrets need to be let out of their cages each day for playtime, but most importantly, ferrets need to spend one-on-one time with their owner each day for bonding purposes. Now that you know the background history on ferrets and the few key steps in how to take care of one, the next time you decide to add a critter to your family, maybe you can consider adding a ferret.